I got my PhD in neuroscience last year. A year later, do I regret getting my PhD? Yes, I regret. The main reason I regret getting my PhD is because what I'm doing now and what I want to do in the future has nothing to do with my degree. So it's like I don't think I'm ever going to use my degree at all. In this video, I will share more details about why I regret getting my PhD. But first, I will break down some truths about academia and industry and why I don't think it's worth getting PhD in 2024. I will put a time code in the description. Because of my neuroscience background, this video is going to focus on the PhD in life science, biomedical science, or neuroscience, this kind of category. Let's talk about academia first. The ancient original purpose of PhD program is to train higher education talent, professors. And so being a faculty is still the most common and popular goals among PhD students. But the faculty job market is extremely brutal. Majority of the PhD graduates do not stay in academia after they graduate. Some of them go into industry because that is their career goal. But there are always some people, they are forced to leave academia and to give up their faculty dream. So if you do not want to be a professor, don't do PhD because it is not cost effective or time effective at all. Let's talk about time first. The average graduation time for PhD students is longer than 5 years now. And the reason the graduation time is getting longer and longer is because the technology. So nowadays, there are a lot of cool technology allowing scientists to do a lot of cool research. But all these techniques are super complicated and it takes a really, really long time for anybody to learn the techniques. So it's very common for PhD students to have to spend like 6 months or even the whole entire year to learn a technique. And after graduate school, PhD graduates then move on to do postdoc. For average, PhD graduates have to spend another around 5 years or 6 years, sometimes even longer, to do a postdoctoral training before they can get a tenure track position. And when these lucky ones become a tenure track assistant professor, the pay sucks. The average assistant professor salary in the US is not 6-figure. And most of the US higher education, they are not paying their faculty for the full 12 months of salary. Most commonly might be 9 months. Some are even paying 6 months. So the faculty has to either teach summer classes in order to cover their summer month's salary, or the most commonly, they were applying for grants, and in the grant budget, they will try to pay themselves during the summer. So let's compare the time and starting salary of an assistant professor to some other careers that requires the terminal degree. Let's do some unfair and extreme comparison. 5 to 6 years of graduate school plus another 5 to 6 years of postdoctoral training. That's about 10 to 12 years of training. And someone is doing like MD, 4 years of medical school, and whoever wants to do like family medicine, so 3 to 5 years of residency training. So 4 plus 3, that's about 7 years. The starting salary for the assistant professor, it's less than 6-figure. But for whoever become a family medicine doctor, their starting salary is around 200K per year. If we want to do even more extreme comparison, okay, so 10 to 12 years of assistant professor salary, start less than 6-figure. To someone who wants to be a neurosurgeon, 4 years of medical school, 7 years of residency training, equals to 11 years of training. But their starting salary is like 500K at least. And all these kind of neurosurgeons, they can even do some fellowship, which means their training period is getting longer and their compensation is getting higher too. But whoever study PhD and then do a postdoctoral training for 8 or 10 years, the institute is not going to pay these kind of assistant professor more salary just because you spend more years as a postdoc. So if you are not passionate about research, if you are not passionate about teaching, and then you just want to have a job that compensates you well, then don't do PhD. The final thing about academia I want to share is about research freedom. One common thing that share among whoever stay in academia is that they say academia allow them to do whatever research they want. Okay, using whatever research they want is exaggerating. But yes, in academia, there are more room for research freedom. It is true, but it is also not 100% true. Industry is definitely profit driven. If a research project is not going to produce profitable result within a reasonable amount of time, then the company is not going to support it. But how research work in academia is research is supported by grants. Grants are provided by funding agency. And how grant works is usually whenever those funding agency they announce that they are looking for research project, they will release their guideline. In the guideline, they will specify what kind of research they are looking for. It can be a clinical research, it can be a non-clinical research, it can be research specifically focused on Parkinson's disease, and not just about Parkinson's disease. What about Parkinson's disease? This research funding agency they are looking for. It can be focusing on finding out the cause, the mechanism of Parkinson's disease, or they are looking for research project specifically trying to find out the treatment, the cure for Parkinson's disease. So all these funding agencies, they are looking for specific type of research. And talking about grants, applying for grants are extremely stressful because more than 90% of the grant application are not getting funded. But grants decide if a faculty is getting a full 12 months of salary this year or less than 12 months of salary this year. It also decide if a lab is going to have money to run the research they want to do, to have a graduate student. And the grant also decide if an assistant professor can eventually become a tenure or not. So grant application, it's a never-ending game throughout the entire career of a faculty member. So if you just want to do your job to get a stable 12 months of paycheck, and when you go home, you just want to relax and don't need to work on writing, applying for grants, then don't do a PhD. Don't become a professor. And next, let's talk about industry. For me, my case is a little special. I decided to pursue PhDs when I was only 13. I'm now 31. So during these 18 years, I actually have never wanted to become a faculty. So I was like, okay, then after I graduate from PhD, I will go into industry. It's very common for PhD students to experience depression and anxiety. I also go through a lot of depression and anxious kind of period. During that period, I actually wanted to quit. It was like 80 or even 90%. I was like, I'm sure I'm about to quit. But eventually, I didn't quit. There are two main reasons why I didn't quit. The first is because I talked to my friends working in biotech and pharmaceutical industry. They are all people with master's degree. They told me don't quit because whoever working at their company doing exactly the same thing as they are doing, but with a PhD, those people are getting more pay. And also for those whoever has PhD in industry, they have higher chance to move on to managing position than someone who have just bachelor degree or master's degree. And another truth why I didn't quit is because I realized if I quit, I have to go back to Taiwan, and going home to Taiwan was like 100% no for me. So okay, to be honest, I don't want to go home. Maybe the main reason I didn't quit, not because I want to get more pay in industry. And second truth about industry is that graduate school experience are not favored by the companies. And there are always way more PhD graduates than the position that actually requires PhD. So majority of the PhD in this world, they are now working for a position that requires PhD. And whoever have a real industry experience, they most of the time they have a higher chance to be hired than a newly graduate PhD. And back to the point about the advanced techniques that PhD students will learn during graduate school. Most of the company, they are not using those techniques at all. Why? Because the learning curve is gonna take way too long. It's going to take way too long to give out result. and the failure rate for those kind of experiments are way too high. So companies, they are not using this kind of technique. If you are a graduate like me who knows how to run all these experiments, who know how to use all these fancy techniques, sorry, no job in industry, because industry are using like molecular techniques like sequencing, ELISA, Western blot, those kind of experiments that's easier for people to learn and can produce results way faster. So if you are someone doing PhD not because you want to be a professor, but you think you will get a higher chance to get a job in industry, I'm sorry, no. Most of the jobs do not require PhD, and real industry experience is more important than graduate school experience. And PhD degree do not guarantee a smoother career path. It do not guarantee a higher chance of getting a job. So I suggest, if you are thinking of doing PhD, if you can do coding, do statistics, do engineering, because those skills are more transferable into different fields. And if you want to go into industry after graduate school, do internship during graduate school and start talking to people in industry now, because who you know is way more important than what you know in industry. For whoever's life goal is to have a terminal degree, do not do PhD, do MD, do dental school, do law school, because when you do those kind of terminal degree, once you graduate, your degree is directly tied to a specific career title. Finally, if you are a current PhD student thinking of leaving your PhD program, I suggest first, definitely think comprehensively about your own unique situation. But I just want to say, it's okay to leave. It's okay to quit. You are not a quitter. You are not a failure. You are just someone realized that your past decision is no longer leading you to the life you want in the future. Back to myself. Why do I regret? I regret first, I started doing PhD because of a funny and ridiculous reason. And I actually made a video about it. If you want to know what was my funny and ridiculous reason, go watch it. I regret because I realized that I don't want to do science anymore. But during these 18 years of my life, when I pursuing PhD, I have an extreme tunnel vision. I didn't try out anything else other than science. I didn't explore other career options for me during these 18 years. So I regret I was like all in science and I didn't learn or try anything else. If I had, then my now starting over in my study journey and career transition journey would have been much more smoother and easier for myself. I don't regret I devote 18 years of my life into science because I met a lot of cool people, I made a lot of friends, and I even made my now lifelong partner because of graduate school. But I truly wish I have learned more broadly about this world rather than deeply about something that is so trivial in this world. All right, that is my story. That is my thought. If you have any question, please leave it down below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to follow my journey of starting over after I got my PhD, but decided I don't want to be a scientist anymore, you want to know what I can figure out in my own life, please subscribe to this channel and I will see you soon. Bye.